We are now live.
All right.
Okay. Sanjay sir, let me just do an introduction to you, to the audience.
Sure.
Okay. Hello, welcome everyone. We are delighted to welcome Sanjay Sehgal, who is a remarkable individual whose journey has been marked by innovation, success, and a passion for promoting a healthy work-life balance. With a diverse portfolio of achievements, Sanjay's expertise spans across entrepreneurship, global business leadership, and self-development. He is a passionate entrepreneur, global businessman, startup advisor, keynote speaker, and a member of the prestigious Forbes Business Council. He has acquired 2 technical patents and achieved a phenomenal 28 years track record of building successful businesses. Sanjay has been at the helm of various ventures, including AMI, IVT, Centric, Aham, Emilio, Leap Credit. His visionary leadership has also paved the way for profitable mergers and acquisitions with major data center technological giants such as Adaptec, LSI Logic, Emulex, Brocade, Seagate, and HP. Throughout his career, he has been bestowed with numerous accolades, including the TIE Entrepreneur of the Year, Most Innovative Digital Transformation CEO, Red Herring 100 winner 2019, and Georgia Titan 2022 and 2023 awards. Beyond the realm of business, Sanjay is a true philanthropist and self-development enthusiast. His journey is self-improvement, began with the introduction to meditation after relocating to US. Over the course of 30 years, he has honed his expertise in heartfulness meditation, became a certified trainer, and a global director of digital initiatives for practice. Sanjay is on a mission to spread the mantra of heart based living, fostering peace and tranquility of mind among seekers worldwide. In his contribution to various print and digital publications such as Business World, Forbes.com, The Times of India, and Entrepreneur magazine, Sanjay has shared invaluable insights on industry trends, business, and investments, leaving an indelible mark on the entrepreneurial landscape. We are truly privileged to have Sanjay Sehgal with us today. Thank you, sir, for sparing your time. So, sir, let me start my first question. I'm sure people have already onboarded right now and joined the call. Uh, my first question to you, sir, is being a part of even though I do not have coding knowledge, but I have an idea about tech. How do I go about with this kind of, how do I pursue this ambition of mine?
I'm guessing ambition of yours meaning to become an entrepreneur, right?
Yes, as an entrepreneur in the tech space.
See, there was a time when, majority of the companies, new startups were in the software field, but I think then came an era where now I think it's when you look at it from a holistic perspective, it is a problem that clients have which are looking for a solution, and the problem could be anything. Problem could be that I live in Hyderabad on a street where I don't find good samosas, so you don't require coding knowledge for that. So to me, being entrepreneur or being even starting a new company, startup and all has nothing to do with software. Software is only means to an end. I mean, your end is here for solving a problem of a client for which you think the problem is large enough for you that enough number of clients will pay you for that solution, and you'll have a successful business out of that, right? That to me is a definition of a startup. A good startup is that is solving a problem. An entrepreneur is a problem solver. Software is only means. I mean, software doesn't mean anything. I mean, of course, software these days has proliferated in almost every field and is able to solve a lot of problems for a lot of people, but it doesn't mean that software is the only thing these days. And I think it's like, in fact, in software also industry has evolved a lot. People are into digital marketing, people are into I mean, there are so many things I can go on and on, but I think it's short answer to your question. Software is not a prerequisite for solving any problem, right?
Perfect, perfect. So, okay, uh, if anyone has joined right now, please put on your questions. Sanjay sir will answer those questions. Y'all can just type in and I will ask the question to sir. Okay, sir, my next question is, what are the new career opportunities I have in the technology space that one can, think of?
See, there, I mean, in the recent times, there have been a lot of newer opportunities, and even though everybody is right now in awe of AI, the kind of potential AI is offering, but regardless of that, market continues to require a lot of programming skills in Python and some of the no code and all those newer fields. And also, I mean, DevOps. I mean, I my favorite is DevOps. I mean, despite it being cloud being around for so many years and DevOps being around for so many years, I mean, so many years means 10 years or maybe under 10 years, but still there continues to be demand for good DevOps architect, good DevOps engineers, because they are the ones who are making this whole cloud thing work, right? I mean, deploy the software in a cloud environment, and that I think is a continues to be a hot field. Python programmers, as I said, and then there are whole new code programming, and we are finding, I mean, UI UX continues to be a very good field, a very hot field. And even though mobile development kind of has peaked a bit, but there still continues to be demand in all the technologies associated with that, and so I think that, I mean, if and around AI, I mean, anything to do with blockchain, anything to do with machine language, machine learning, those are hot because they all enable the AI part of the equation, right?
Got it. So you must have heard, I mean, with the AI introduction of AI, especially post November 2022, there's been a spike of the AI trend going on. And many people are worried about their jobs, saying like, the AI will take over it. What are your thoughts on it? Do you think this is a reality? Like, the AI will take over the jobs and all, or is it just like, it will, I mean, I will be like, I mean, my skill set might be useless thinking that, that the new AI features are going to come in. So what are your thoughts on these?
No, I mean, it is going to happen, I mean, but the same fear was there when internet came. I mean, you guys, some of you are very young, but I mean, I remember when internet came, there was a fear, and fear was genuine, and it did happen. But what happened was it created new jobs. So it did
Correct.
get rid of a lot of. I mean, you know the we are still suffering from the impact of information era, right? And the people who were left behind as a result of that era, right? And and how, I mean, those people still have those grievances against that and all that. So I think that is still there. Now there's a new thing, AI. I mean, there are going to be people, I think we are already hearing that a few percentage of people have lost their jobs. I mean, the content, especially on the content side, right? And a lot of people who used to do content have lost their jobs, and a lot of people who, I mean, in marketing especially, that's the first area that it is going to impact, right? And then I think soon it's going to be in the design, and it's going to be programming. I mean, what would take you to weeks to write a software program, now you can do all that in like few days or few hours, right? So I mean, you're going to be requiring less programmers, less content writers, lot less marketeers. I mean, that is part of the deal, but it means now you can learn newer things. You can learn how to program for an AI system, how to utilize AI in a newer field. Now I think the best thing I feel AI would do, not just for country like US but also for India and many others, is we still have lack of skilled resources in many of our countries, many of our fields, right? AI can help us fulfill that need. I mean,
Hmm.
I was talking to I mean, I met a great personality, Dr. Deepak Chopra, not too few weeks ago, and we were having discussion about it, and he was talking about that AI will make sure, if you use AI properly, it will make sure no one is left alone. So imagine what it will do to the problem of loneliness, problem of mental health, right? I mean, you will have someone to talk to. I mean, many of us are many of the, I mean, I'm sure people who are listening or watching this, many of them are from India. So India, there's less problem because there are a lot of people there. But in the Western world, that problem is huge. But now in India also here, people are feeling lonely. People, and that is leading to mental problems, mental health problems. Now imagine using AI, you have a friend, right? You have a friend that who's there all the time with you, who understands you, who can talk to you whenever you need him to talk to you. So you're never alone, right? I mean, I'm just giving you one. I mean, otherwise you have to hire a person who does all that. I mean, you don't have I mean, that kind of job description available, readily available, or people to fill that job description. But now you can have a machine to do that, and that's just one. I mean, imagine now in a mental medical field, there are so many openings in many of these fields in India and in US, which can be fulfilled by AI. Now you can say that AI can soon replace doctors. It will not replace doctors. It will replace the physician assistants, or the first level, people who field your questions and then based on that decide, diagnose, and then take you to the next level, right? Then, of course, after a few years, you'll find the next level is replaced. I mean, that is going to happen. But meanwhile, imagine that you can provide health services to every nook and corner of the world without worrying about lack of resources. Right now, in every, even in a country like India, which has produces so many doctors, still there is not enough people to provide health services in rural areas. And I can tell you the same problem exists in US. Now you have some tools, something that can help you do that. So see the positive effect of it. Now let's say, I mean, I don't know the number, don't quote me on that, but let's say assume that half of the villages in India or in US don't have good health services. Now you can use AI systems to fulfill that gap, right? So to build those AI systems, you will need a lot of people. You may not need the same COBOL programmers or C++ program, but you may need other kind of programmers. But you do need programmers, you do need hardware builders, you do need service technicians. I mean, you will need all that, right? So I mean, new job opportunities will get created. Like, when drones came, people said, oh well, a mailman is now I mean, will not be needed. The mailmen are still needed, fortunately or unfortunately, but drones are creating new job opportunities now, right? So I think I hope I've answered your question in many different ways, right?
We are a farmer cultivating mangoes.
I can read that. Then, okay, mangoes. Then we are sending them very far to sell them with very low cost, planning to help farmers in mango manufacturing nearby to purchase mangoes. So I don't know whether it's a question or how to get funding and project plan. He's asking. I think, see, I mean, project plan comes before you get the funding, and you will have to. I mean, you know your business. Someone is asking this question from Andhra Pradesh in India. Very good question. I'm glad you're asking this. This is a real, I mean, real problem. That farmers are facing in places like India. Despite we are talking about AI and here, we the problems are a different kind. Now, I think, if you can even just describe the problem and the solution that you're talking about, that how do you sell at a place where you can get a good price, right? And I'm sure you know where that place is, how much price is there, and of course you have a certain season. If you can describe all that, write all that down, you know that in itself, and the volume of mangoes we're talking about, how much does it take to transport, things like that. I mean, that's what project plan is. Project plan is in this case would be your entire supply chain equation. If you can put all that supply chain equation, that will become your project plan, and then how you will make money Now, funding in this case, I don't know whether you need funding or not, because anybody who funds you would want to know how are you going to use the fund and how he is going to get his money back, right? So think about some of those things. Use of funds. I mean, suppose you're asking for, let's say, 10 lakhs or 20 lakhs or 1 crore or whatever money. What are you going to use it for? How is he going to get his money back? Think about some of those questions. If it was your own money, right? How would you use it? How would you give it back, get it back? If you can write that a bit, then I think you can feel free to send it to me. I'll help you refine it further, right? Any other question?
Please add your questions below, so we'll have Sir answer it. I have one question. Should I invest in a new business idea or should I invest in stock? What is your financial advice on this?
That's a very good question. In fact, I earlier today I was talking to another friend of mine, and we were talking about this, that uh, there's a business plan we were talking about, and I asked him what kind of return to expect, and he said 20% return. So I say, well, I think in US when I invest in, I'm not talking stocks, but even in some certain startups, and I can get 15 to 17% back a year on an annualized basis. So I think that's now in a business plan, there's a risk element involved. So for an extra 3 to 5%, am I willing to take that risk? Right. So that's I think what the answer to your question. Whether it's a new business or a stock, you need to evaluate the risk versus the reward. If to me, I mean, I think personally, I would invest in a startup that if, when I say startup, if I invest $1 million at the end of 5 to 10 years, I should be getting at least 50 to 60 million return. If I am not, I mean, I'm fine with 15-20% return in the stock market. In my own stock portfolio, I'm getting about 20 to 25% return generally. And of course, during COVID, I think everybody kind of took a dip. But in good times, we are getting that kind of, I mean, you keep modifying your portfolio so that you can get that kind of money in return. And in our own business that I run, I mean, I think we have about 20% to 25% return, despite having a pretty kind of a growth trajectory. Growth trajectory means we do invest a lot of money back into the company. So if I don't invest any money, I think I mean, that business is 30 to 35% net margin business. So I think it's that kind of answers. I hope it answers your question. You should look at what kind of risk versus reward you have in new business versus in a stock market, right? Stock market has risk, but there are less risky propositions in stock market. Like in India, they say, I mean, these days in US also we have seen that real estate has been good investment in certain parts of the countries, right? So, I mean, why they say that is, as you put the money, keep it there, and then of course you, after 10 years, it becomes 5 times, 6 times. I mean, that's kind of a good return. To me, startups should be able to offer you that. And in real estate, you do have less risk because you can always get your principal back. May not be at the same time when you want it, but you can, right? I mean, that's a presumption. That's why real estate is considered safer investment. But when you talk about a business, there is a risk, new business, there is a risk element involved. And so the return has to be commensurate with that risk. I mean, it should be definitely more than what you would get in a normal investment. Any other question, Jason? When are you starting a tomato farm? But more important, how has farming been solved? I don't know whether I understand that question. Maybe whoever has written can elaborate. See, I'm not a farmer, though I have been lately. I've been trying to, or I've been getting into farming for various reasons. I think food is a problem that is going to remain regardless of AI taking over the world till we reach an era, as we've seen those those sci-fi movies where AI has destroyed the entire universe. The human beings, as long as human beings are alive, they would need food to eat. So I feel food industry of any kind is a good industry to invest in, and in that farming is obviously is kind of beginning of the chain or ecosystem. The restaurant hospitality comes kind of on the other side, but to me that's kind of, you know is that's a good industry to invest in. And but at the same time, I think farming is, uh, I am yet to see farming giving you the software kind of returns yet. I mean, so it's a good diversification strategy. If I'm talking more as an investor, not as an entrepreneur. So definitely some entrepreneurs out there who are willing to solve that problem. I think maybe perhaps that's what you're referring to, solve that problem, that make the returns out of farming as attractive as a good software industry returns, or good I mean new industry returns could be. That will be a good problem to solve, I feel. So any entrepreneurs out there, you're all welcome to solve that problem. I'm sure money will come if you're solving the problem in a way that can ensure, you know I mean, I would say a good level of returns with, optimum level of risk involved in it. Any other questions?
Okay, so can you hear me?
Yes. I read that. I think Garima has
So
asked, I have a lot of ideas building tech products, but I think this
I think
question you have
we have
asked me
already
earlier.
answered that
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
Okay, there's another question she's asked. I'm not able to find a good business partner to start a business with. What should I do?
Well, start with your life partner, Garima. Sorry to give an answer like that. Maybe I think that there are I think if you uh, there are many networking events that you can go to. And these days, I mean, in US we have, of course, organizations like TIE, and almost every city has good good associations for entrepreneurship, for startups. So that's a good start for you. I mean, I would say it's good place not only to find partners to start your business with, but also to find partners who can help you with real estate, help you with legal help. I mean, anything that, I mean, generally I found that those kind of networking events are full of service providers, right? I mean, that's how they scout their clients, right? So in case you're looking for any help like that, you can find service providers for that, so you can evaluate different ones and find the right one to help you. Second, I think in that you also can find co-founders, and a very good place to find co-founders or person to start your business with is your own college alumni events. And I have found, I mean, and I think it's just I am here, I'm giving you multiple ideas that college alumni events are not only to find helpful in finding business partners, but also life partners. And I've heard many, with my gray hair, I have heard many instances like that. If you went to a decent college and those people, you in alumni events, you will, the old flames will get reignited on the other side as well. So that's good place to find life partner, business partner, and many other things. So I think that's other way. I think uh, there are investor events where the startup pitches. See, what I had seen in my experience, and I have done that myself, that two startups are pitching me ideas which which seem quite similar. So I would love to invite them to join hands together, and with, obviously they will always look for commitment for funding. So I think that's easy to find, then two people pursuing similar looking ideas on the same, at the same time. So I hope I've answered your question in that. I think there are many ways to do that, but the fact that you're looking for one, that's it's a very good idea, because the problems out there are still a lot of problems out there looking for solution. And a single person can never, even if it can solve the problem, but he may not know how to be a good operations person, may not know how to be good, be a good sales and marketing person. You know, so having co-founders is very helpful in every business.
So, what is a trend that you see now, henceforth? Like, what are the, like, as a venture capitalist, like, what do you see the trend, the future businesses? Like, what is the right way? I mean, how are you going to invest in the future? Like, what are the business that is going to be in trend?
I think I mean, if I think about things outside of AI, right? So currently there are a lot of business ideas on application of AI in different fields, and fortunately for me, I think my own business, we had already been at the forefront of implementing that in the field of storage, cloud, and many other related fields. So I think we had some experience and knowledge of that. But I think now, of course, with generative AI, it has changed the game. So it is going to get into a lot of consumer-based businesses. That will be the next era we will see. And though I haven't run into any softwares, any business plans there yet, but I'm sure all the larger ones, larger VCs firms are evaluating that, and so soon it will kind of come down to other people as well. But I think I feel still there are a lot of problems to be solved in human experience, providing good level of human experience, in different fields. So I think there are those problems are looking to be solved. In the past, I had shared about one company which is in the field of providing good restaurant experience, restaurant dining experience. But I think same thing. I mean, I think in the last call, someone had mentioned about uh, experience of using multiple apps. I mean, think about it. All these things are providing next level of experience, because if you see historically, how the journey of startups or journey of companies has been, that a startup becomes very successful, it solves one problem, and soon it finds that that problem now is looking that solution looks like an old solution. It solves the problem only as a spot problem, because problem now that solving that problem has created some other problems. Like having all those apps has created a problem that we have too many apps. How do I combine all the apps to use them all together to solve my problem of, let's say, going somewhere? So that human
Hmm.
experience, human experience things are the next generation of startups, I feel, that are going to come is going to solve that.
Oh, perfect. So there's one question from Tushar Narula. I am a doctor. Please suggest some business ideas.
Rare. I thought you will ask me your ideas and I'll tell you, but I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I cannot. I mean, I can suggest you ideas like, I mean, in US there are I from your name, I think you're perhaps from India, but a very popular product, Zoc Talk, you would have heard of. I mean, in India they're still finding a doctor near you, finding a specialist near you, setting up appointments, doing the basic. I mean, the before going to doctor, just doing the basic stuff. I mean, basic diagnosis. That, I mean, especially with AI being around, and being so advanced the way it is right now, using that to figuring that out. I mean, before you see a doctor, that in itself is a great thing. I mean, I just had an experience last 2 weeks. I was required to take some test. I mean, going to one hospital, going through this test, waiting in line. I mean, so why can't we use some technology to solve this problem? I mean, why do I have to come? I mean, you guys have great machines, MRI, CT scan, all those kind of machines. But I mean, why do you have to go somewhere when everything is happening, in my house? I mean, why can't this be done over the internet? I mean, why do I have to go somewhere? We're still in the era of going somewhere, standing or under a machine, and or lying down under a machine capturing you. To me, that's like 10, 15 years old. Come up with something new. I mean, I'm giving you a slew of ideas in this if you're smart. And I think there are these ideas, these problems are looking for solution. Can you make it simpler? to get any of these tests done. I mean, and I mean, now all of us had heard about that big successful and then failure company, right? Theranos, right? They wanted to just pick one drop of blood to do a lot of tests. I mean, even though, I mean, that lady now has ended up in jail, but look at the problem. The problem is still there to be solved. Why somebody has to take 5 bottles of blood from me to do all the tests? Why can't it be done with 1 drop or 2 drops or 3 drops or 5 drops of blood? Why 5 bottles? I mean, that to me is that's kind of these are the ideas I can give you as a consumer. I don't want to stand in line to get tests done. I don't want to go from one place to another place. I don't want to go to for a doctor and then go to a pharmacy. I mean, and there are companies solving this problem, but still it's not good enough. Still, I mean, not everybody is using it. It means it's not solved to an extent where it is usable for everyone. I would have given
Okay.
you 20 ideas. If any of those become successful, I can send you the invoice, or you can add my stake in your company. Okay.
So, a question has come from Suchit Shinde. Uh, through all these years in the field of business, what has remained constant and how have you dealt with the problems along the way?
This is a very good question, making me think. What has remained constant is that the intelligence or stupidity of human beings. Like we solve one problem, create few other problems, which is good for entrepreneurs because the newer problems that get created would have to be solved in the next generation. So that gives rise to startups, right? So that is kind of one thing which has remained constant, and how I have dealt. That's why I am not in a mood to give up. I keep kind of either doing startups, doing work for startups, or keep investing in startups. I think today's startups are tomorrow's big businesses, and that's how the world works. I know though in companies like, I mean, now both you see in US and India, there are a few top companies which have kind of which are not in the danger of being dethroned. Whether it is Amazon, Facebook, Google, Microsoft, and all. They seem like they're constant, but you'll be in for a surprise. Wait another 5 years, you may find few new companies in their place. And I'm not just making this prediction, but that's how the world works, right? And I think that's that constant here is that things keep changing, and how we deal with this problem is that you keep evolving as a human being, keep evolving as a business person, keep evolving as a citizen of the country, as a human being.
Okay. So, there's another question by SK Channel. What is the difference between US and Indian agriculture field? What are the ways to cut cost in farming as an entrepreneur?
I think the biggest difference is in US, the farming is very consolidated. You have large farms, right? And in India, as I'm told, that I mean, there's farms are smaller. So I think as corporates are getting into it, they are buying large pieces of land from different farmers to, in a way, replicate the model. And in US, there is a lot of automation. There's a lot of automation, and in India, it's still kind of India is far behind because labor tends to be cheap. In India, farming is, I mean, you're talking about cost cutting. I mean, ask a farmer. I mean, he's perhaps doing most of the work himself. So, what cost are you going to cut? But I think if you have a large enough farm, then you can look at a problem in a different way. Using automation, I mean, I was in not too long ago. I was in Warangal. They were telling me they do a lot of these paddy farming, right, rice farming. They were saying they are not able to find cultivation help, labor to help with cultivation. So since they are not able to find that, uh, they don't know what to do. I mean, some farms are left not to be cultivated. Automation. I mean, there are cultivators available even in India from Mahindra and Mahindra. And when we told them that, they said, "Oh, we didn't know that." I mean, Still, information in India, the proliferation of information is not very efficient, right? So in US, nobody thinks about doing the work themselves. First they think about is the machine. If machine is not there, then they find, oh, I have to find people to do this job. The machine idea of machine comes first, and then human beings come later. Here it's the reverse. So I think automation in cultivation, in harvesting, in taking care of things. I mean, that is what you can do to cut costs and increase efficiency. But for that, you also need large enough sized farms, because only then it is economical. Otherwise, it's not.
Hmm. Great. Gaurav Singh has one question. In stocks, do we have to invest in Indian stock market or US stock market?
Well, I mean, I think both stock markets are. I mean, there are different times, different methodologies in this, and I'm not an expert, so I must first, give you that disclaimer. So you should talk to your financial advisor or some other stock expert. But I think it depends. I mean, I invest primarily in U.S. stock market because Indian stock market. One is that Indian currency continues to be not as stable as the U.S. currency has been over the years. If you see, U.S. currency has been quite stable, has been increasing in its value, and now despite many countries coming out to dealing their trade with the US dollar, still US dollars continues to be strong. So I my preference has always been to invest in US market, and US, the companies, their performance, their way of working, their kind of, is a lot more regulated, a lot more consistent than here. I mean, you all have seen those TV series about Scam 1992 and all that stuff. I mean, the Harshad Mehta and bunch of those. I mean, here the chances of those things is also there, right? And though I mean, as I said, I'm not an expert. I've heard of people who have made a lot of money here in the stock, but my preference has always been US to the extent you can do it. You know.
Hmm. So, question from Abhishek Pandey. In your thinking, which type of startup is best for future?
The startup which solves the problem of better human experience in any field that you look at, whether it is going to a doctor's office, whether it is taking tutorial classes, or even going to school. Any field you look at, in every field you'd find people are thirsting for better human experience, and focus on that.
Okay. Um, Guys, any more questions? Please add your questions. So, one question. Do you think there is a disadvantage of having funding in a very early stage?
I think there is if before um, before you're able to prove out your idea, I mean, right? And if you raise money at that stage, there are a lot of disadvantages. One is that it does take away the flexibility from you to be able to pivot your idea. I think startup to me is almost like raising a child. If your child is small and you have gone and bought a lot of clothes and lot everything for him, then I mean it takes away the flexibility. I mean the suppose the boy or girl grows taller, grows shorter. I mean, suppose you bought his next 10 years of clothes. I mean, there is a disadvantage, no? So you should and his choice. I mean, so it does take away that flexibility of how you want to grow. I always say that first money in should be after you have proven your idea, found some early customers. These days, that's the right time. There's a problem, looking for a solution, you solve that problem, and you have found some customers who are willing to pay for that solution. That's the right time. Now you need money to scale it.
Okay. Abhi has a question. In startup funding, what depends? It depends on what? Sorry.
No, I didn't understand.
I think he's trying to ask, like, what depends on funding a startup? Like, what are the important aspects needed?
Um,
The
see,
requirements. Mm.
I think, like I mentioned, I think you should have proven your idea, right? And found some customers who are willing to pay for your solution. Problem solution, that is a startup. Then, of course, do you have clients who are willing to pay for that? You have a solution, but people saying, "Oh, well, good solution, very good, thank you," but they're not willing to pay for it. So you should have proven that. I mean, I have given very detailed answers, but I'm kind of earlier. But I think I normally say that you should be able to answer this. What is the problem? How you're solving it? Why you're solving it? Why now? So if you're able to answer these questions convincingly for yourself, then you're ready for funding, right? How large is the
Mm.
problem? I mean, this problem is just localized to a small community or small set of people, then I think it's different, you know.
Okay. Okay, sir. I think we are done with the questions, and this was the last question. So, guys, in case you have any questions for Sir regarding anything regarding your startup investment, relationship advice, please write to Sanjay at segalnotes.com. Let me repeat, Sanjay at segalnotes.com. Okay, sir. Thank you for your time and answering all our questions. We hope to do this mentorship call again very soon. And you have any other last final words for our people before we end this call?
Stay strong, stay positive, stay enthusiastic, right?
Oh, so there's one question from Abhishek Pandey.
How
He
do we
says,
do
like, how
funding
do
for
we do
NGO?
fundraising for an NGO?
See, for NGO, fundraising has to be done on the basis of the impact that you're creating. There are people who are willing to pay only if they see your NGO is creating some impact with the funds. Anyone who gives you money, Vishek, remember this, they want to see some outcome. They're not just sitting and say doling out money. They want to see something out of it. When we invest in, let's say, in a startup, we want some ROI. When we invest in an NGO, we want to see a social impact, right? So they want to see what impact you're creating with that money and how can you maximize that impact. And who else is then, of course, in NGO, who else is creating, who else is doing similar thing? Are they creating better impact than you? Are they taking your dollars to longer mile or longer distance than you? Things like that. I think that kind of you get into that, right? But that's how you raise money.
Okay, Abhishek, I hope that answers your question. So, thank you very much, everyone, for joining. And we hope to do this mentorship session frequently. So, please save your questions once we ask Sir. Thank you, Sir, for your time. And
All right,
good night,
guys.
everybody.
Okay, take care.